a good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're all today. Hope you are feeling grand, and those when you want. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to another Q&A Wednesday, everybody. Let's dive into question 1 today. Kasplosh. Okay, question 1 is, what's the right pedal order for this setup? And you've given me a list of your pedals. Okay, so before I tell you how I would run your pedals, it's important for me to say one thing, which will probably turn into many things because you know what I'm like. There is no such thing as right pedal order. It doesn't exist. It's like there's no such thing as right guitar setup or right gauge of strings or brand of strings or the right leads or the right amp or this and the other. There's no such thing. What it comes down to is simply what works for you. You have to think of it you have to think of it individually on an individual level. You can't think of well, they told me I need to run things this way, and I need these strings, and I need that guitar, and I need this amp. You know, you can't think that way because that might not necessarily work for you. What you need to do is you need to approach things from an individual perspective where you see it for what you see it as, not what other people see it as or perceive it to be. You know, it's got to come from you. You've got to know what works for you. It's key, absolute key to playing any instrument, you know, or anything in general, really. You've got to think of it individually. So, when it comes down to pedal order, there is no right or wrong way to wire up a pedal board. It's just finding what order the pedals work for you. What order do they work where you go, I like that sound, you know. Because for years and years and years, I've been told that my pedal board is really heavy, and it's really small but really heavy. I've been told for years and years and years that I run my distortion and my overdrive in the wrong place. I personally would beg to differ, as this has always worked for me, and I have tried it the other way around, and I hated it. So, and the reason why people tell me I'm doing it wrong is because I run an overdrive on the input side of the distortion. So, technically, this pedal should be on that side of the distortion. This distortion should be on this side of this. And I don't. I hate that. I hate running the golden plexi on this side, running... I like running the golden plexi into the governor. I think that's the way it goes. It goes that way, doesn't it? Or does it come from this way? I no longer know! Anyway, this is the way I run it, and I'm told it's wrong. Also, the whole idea of having a wah pedal and then things after the wah-wah pedal, I was told that was wrong as well, but it works for me. You know, and the thing is, you just got to experiment and play. I mean, I've spent hours with pedals and going, what happens if I put this there and this there? And that's what I find works for me. You know what I mean? And I have no desire to change it now because I know that works for me. So it doesn't matter what anybody says. That's the way it's going to be for me because, you know, that's the way it is. You know, I'm not interested in kind of what people offer advice-wise because I know what I like the sound of. You know, if I was just setting up a new pedal board and somebody says, oh, why don't you just try this, this, and this? I would try it, definitely. But that pedal board there has stood me in good stead for sound-wise for years and years and years, and I've got no desire to mess around with it anymore. You know, I'm settled, you know what I mean? I don't need to tweak it anymore, I just don't. So, and the same should go for anybody. Like, you know, once you find something that works for you, you know, just like stick with that, you know what I mean? Don't be swayed by kind of like, you know, constantly tweaking and changing things. It's good fun sometimes to do it, but I think sometimes it can kind of get in the way of kind of like, you know, creating if you're kind of constantly ripping pedals off and changing things out. Sometimes it's really good for creativity, but sometimes I think it can hinder it. So it's a weird, it's kind of a fine line to balance, really, that. But as far as what's the right pedal order, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as right or wrong pedal order. It's just like, you know, it just comes down to what you like, you know, what works for you, what do you enjoy. So but you know, but yeah, so yeah, just bear that in mind. So this is the way I would run your pedal board, but like I say, my opinion doesn't really mean anything. You know, you've got to go out there and you've kind of like, you know, you got to rip pedal walls up and change places. You never know. You might find another way of running your pedal board that I haven't thought of that you like more. You know what I mean? And you probably will, because, you know, I know what I like and I know how I run things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to work for you, or it's even going to be, you know, good for you for the sound you want. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it totally depends. It totally depends. You know. So you give me a list of your pedals. So this is how I would run. If these were my pedals, this is how I would run it. So I would have the Keeley Dark Side. Well, guitar. From the guitar, we're going to the Keeley Dark Side, and then we're going to a Boss DS2, Ibanez Wah V3, WH10 V3, and then we would go into the Full Tone OCD, then into MXR Microamp, and then to the Super Chorus, and then to the amp. And I would run the Ditto looper in the effects loop of the amp. I wouldn't run the Ditto looper really in chain. You can do, but it'll work better if it's in the effects loop. Loopers in general, I think, just sound better in the effects loop because they're cleaner. You can stack distortions and stuff like that a lot easier than you can if they're running into a front end. It's the problem I have with this board I just showed you. I've got a Ditto loop on that at the beginning of I don't care. I don't know. The chain. And sometimes that becomes a problem when I want to kind of put distortion on it. Kind of, you know, distortion can kind of tend to drown in the loop out if you're not careful. So you've got to be careful. So you don't really have that worry if you run your looper through your effects loop of your amp. So that's what I would recommend. But again, you know, you might find you like the Keeley Dark Side in a different place. You might find you like the Full Tone OCD in a different place. You might find the DS2 in a different place. You might find you want the chorus after the wah wah. You know, it's hard to say. You know, it's really hard to say. I mean, you know, it's really up to you, really, at the end of the day, and personal preference. It really is. Yeah. So I'd recommend just going around playing with it, messing around, especially at this point in time. Is, you know, we've got plenty of time to fill, so just play around. You never know. You might find a different order that just works for you better. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that's answered your question. Moving on to question 2 now. Question 2 is there's a few different bits and pieces for question 2. So question 2, part A, I don't really know how to answer this, if I'm being perfectly honest. The question is there a better guitar for playing live that you can see the neck and frets better in the dark? So, if you're playing live and it's dark quite a lot, then the only thing I'd recommend is it doesn't matter what guitar you play, because what you could do is you can just go out and buy glow-in-the-dark tape or paint and just paint the fret dots, or put tape on the fret dots side of the neck to illuminate in the dark. That's the only thing I can think of. It doesn't really matter about what guitar it is, because there's ways around that. You know what I mean? You can get, like I say, you can get glow in the dark paint. You can get glow in the dark tape. But you can just do that. You can actually get dots installed that glow in the dark. You know, stuff like that. So, you know, not LEDs. You can actually just get like dots that are kind of like, you know, luminescent kind of things. So you can get that stuff like that. So it doesn't really make any difference, really. It's just about, you know, you just got to adapt your guitar slightly to whatever to the dark conditions. But yeah, anyway, that's the only thing I would recommend. People of the Tube, is there anything you would add to that question, if you can? If there is anything you can add to that, let us know in the comment section below. So let's go question 2, part B. That's question 2, part B. That'll do. How would you go about playing with another guitarist on the spur of the moment? Would you play the same chords or something else? It depends on the situation. I can't honestly answer that, because it depends totally on the situation. If it's you just got, you know, it depends what's being played and how it's being played. You know, there were times I've been invited up on stage, which is another part of this question, with Charlie, for instance, like my friend Charlie, playing with the Broombusters. And there was times where, you know, we were doing, say, Hey Joe. I would just play the same chords that Charlie was, you know. Or Little Wing, play the same chords that Charlie was, just add little Hendrixy embellishments. But then, you know, you get things like, I remember one time we did, Hoochie Coochie Man, which Charlie used to call Hoochie Coochie Boy, which is really cool. And what I did there is I just did solos between Charlie's vocals. So Charlie would sing the lyric, and then I would do a little solo fill. And the same when we did Red House. I remember doing Red House with him a couple of times, and the same thing happened there. I just did the solos, I just did the lead, and Charlie would do the the Chuck Berry chord, and I would just do these little breaks. You've got to judge the situation on what it is, you know what I mean, and the music style that you're playing in, you know what I mean. You can't be over the top with it, but you do need to fit in, so to say. So yeah, you'd have to just judge the situation by what the situation is. I mean, I've done it loads of times where like I just said, but you've just got to take it for what it is. You've just got to use your judgment on and your gut feeling of what you should be playing, and not necessarily what you think you should be playing. You got to feel what you should be playing, not think what you should be playing. So yeah, what can you play that's going to add to this piece of music, and not necessarily kind of like what's going to be the best, what's going to be the most showy thing or whatever kind of thing. It's basically about kind of like how can you just complement the song. What can you play that will work to the song, not to you. It's all about the music, it's not about you. So yeah, I mean that's sometimes you play something else, sometimes you play the chords. Again, it's just there's no real rules to it. You just got to take it for what it is at the time, if that makes any sense. It's quite hard to explain, but yeah, if hopefully that makes sense. Because it is just kind of one of those things that the situation can vary so much. Because there were, like I say, there were times when I was playing with Charlie, and we would do Red House, and I would just do solos, and the next song we would do would be Johnny Be Good, and I would do solos and chords. And then the song after that, we would be doing something like No Woman, No Cry, where I wouldn't even solo. I would just play the chords for the whole song, and the other guitarist in the band would do the solo. I mean, that very rarely happened with Charlie, because Charlie always made me solo, but which I love doing. But there were a few occasions where I would just play rhythm. I remember doing One Love with Charlie once, and I just played the rhythm. I didn't solo in One Love. I just played rhythm, and that was wicked. There was no need for a solo in that song. There's no need for it. So I just played the reggae rhythm. So yeah. I say you just got to take it for what it is, really. Judge the situation on what it is. Okay, so last part of question 2 is: have you ever been asked if you to join in with a band on stage that you've not played with before? I can't even read my own writing. Yeah, basically, if you like Jimi Hendrix and Cream, you gave an example of that where Jimmy got up and played with Cream and annihilated Eric Clapton, basically, and. Yeah, I mean, with Charlie and the Broombusters, there have been a few other times as well where it's kind of like, do you want to play on this song? Like, yeah, go for it. Because this is one thing I learned from Charlie, and this is one thing I'm going to share with you now. Charlie always said, and also a friend of mine called Matt told me this as well, and it's very true: never ever say no. If somebody says, do you want to come and play tonight on this song? Do it. Even if it's just one song, do it. I remember a friend's band of mine were playing in town one New Year's Eve. It was just this New Year's Eve thing they were doing, and they wanted to do Dancing in the Moonlight, and they asked me to come by Thin Lizzy, and they wanted me to come down and do the solo for it. Just that one song. They were doing 2 45-minute sets, and they just wanted me to come down and play that one song with them, and I did. I went and I did it. I was never going to not say no to that. And that's what Charlie taught me. It was like, you never say no. If somebody says, oh, do you want to go and play? You go, yeah. Even if you're terrified, you do it. Because it's an experience, and it grows you as a musician, because it throws you in the deep end. And you've got to learn to swim. Otherwise you're going to drown. So you've really got to really go for it. And you've really got to kind of like, get everything screwed on right and go for it, you know what I mean? So, you never say no. If somebody says, oh, do you want to play this gig? You say yes. and if your band can't do it, you still go. I've done that as well, where we were due to play a gig. It was like a festival thing, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but all of a sudden, about half an hour before we were due to leave, the trio basically like couldn't do the gig. It was like, oh no, like, you know, can't do it with this, that, and the other. I can't remember the reason. It was a long time ago. And I was like, fine, I'll just go on my own then. And I went and I went and played acoustic on my own because I was like, well, you know, if you can't do it, then I will. You know what I mean? And that's the attitude I think you've got to have. Is like, you know, if you don't want to do it, and I do, then I'm going to do it on my own if I have to. You know what I mean? I think that's the attitude you need to have. Is just never say no, and never ever kind of let people down. You know what I mean? If like, you know, if you have to go and do something on your own, do it on your own. I remember there's been a few times where it's kind of like, you know, oh, band can't do it, fine, I'll go and do it on my own. I'll do a solo thing, or I'll do something like this, because that's what we do as musicians. You know what I mean? You don't want to turn down opportunities because you don't know where those opportunities can lead and how that they can benefit you or benefit other people. You know, so never say no to that kind of thing. If somebody asks you up on stage, go for it. You know, go for it. There's an amazing little video of a Steve Vai gig, and Steve Vai comes out into the crowd, and he's walking around in the crowd, and he spots Andy Timmons. Andy Timmons was there watching Steve Vai, and Steve immediately just takes his guitar off and he gives it to Andy Timmons, and Andy Timmons just starts soloing, and Steve Vai's just watching, and it's like, you know, imagine if Andy Timmons had gone, oh no. I mean, how embarrassing would that have been? Not only for him, but like it just been like, really? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, if somebody like that offers you their guitar, you play it. Yes, sorry, distracted. So where are we? Yeah. So yeah, when someone like Steve Vai offers you the guitar, you play it. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, it's like, you know, I've been asked a few times to like do those kind of things, and you know, you just do them. You know, you get up and you do it because, like I say, you never know where it might lead you. It's really cool, and it's really good fun to do. You know, you just get up there and you have a laugh. You know, it's really, really cool. And I've done it many, many times. And I look forward to doing it again at some point, hopefully, if the world ever goes back to being normal, or whatever normal is. Because I've just got the weirdest feeling, and I don't like it. And I hope it's wrong, and I kind of hope, yeah, really hope it's wrong that the world as we knew it, or our world as we knew it before the virus outbreak is gone for good. It's not coming back. You know, that sense of normality won't return. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, but yeah, you know, if somebody asks you to go up on stage and play one song, you do it. You don't say no to them. You just go, yes, I'll do that, and it's really good fun. And just enjoy it for what it is. You make a mistake, you make a mistake. It's not the end of the world. Mistakes are okay. So just get up there, play your guitar, or play your bass, or play the drums, or whatever, and just have a laugh. Because, you know, it's one song. So what, you know, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes max. You know, and it could be the most awesome 5 minutes of your life. You never know. So yeah, I mean, never say no. Never say no to things like that. You know, and if you see an opportunity where you could, oh, do you mind if I get up and play with you? Go for that as well. You know, don't be afraid to ask. You know, the worst they can do is say no. And you haven't really lost anything. And if you're not supposed to be playing in the first place, then the least you can say is no. You know what I mean? So it won't matter. So so yeah, always say yes. Like I say, Charlie taught me that. You know, he says a musician will play no matter what. You know what I mean? Just if they ask, they go and do it, and that's very true. So yeah, be that what it may. So yeah, I hope that's such a question. Move on to question 3 now. Weird. Anyway, question 3 is: could you explain the compression that comes from a distortion pedal a bit better? Yeah, I mean, how to word it, that's the hard part. Because I find the compression that comes from a distortion pedal, I find that a lot nicer or a distortion or an overdrive channel of an amp, I find that a lot nicer to a compression pedal. Compressor pedals are really cool, and they have their place definitely, and I really like them. And again, if you hear what people like Andy Timmons does with them, and John Frusciante does with them, and I think Dave Gilmour uses a compressor as well. I mean, they do some really cool things, compressor pedals do. But for me personally, and again, coming back to kind of like, what, again, individuality is really important. For me personally, I find the overdrive of an amp or the overdrive of a pedal, the compression that creates is sonically and audibly nicer and smoother than a compressor pedal. Compressor pedals are nice, but they can make things gnarly. Sometimes they don't quite smooth out the highs and the lows enough for me. Sometimes there's little spikes still, and I don't like that. I like it to be kind of very even and uniform. So how it works, simply, is if your waveform's this, that's your clean sound. It's just doing this. Woo, woo, woo. It's going into the lows, going into the highs. So that's the clean channel of your amp. If you stick a distortion pedal on there, what distortion basically is I am not the person to be explaining this, by the way. It's a compression. Distortion is a compression, and that's why back in the day when Pete Townsend first cranked up a Marshall and it distorted and it sustained, the reason it sustained is because it was a natural compression brought out by this amp on full tilt. So, and it's a compression that kind of, it's a natural compression that comes from overloading circuits. Again, distortion. And then that obviously went on to people like Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, and then Jimi Hendrix, who took it to the next level. With use of fuzz pedal on top of that. So, like I said, I'm really not the person to explain this. But it works in the same way as a compression pedal does, but I feel that a compression from a distortion pedal or an overdrive pedal or an overdrive channel on an amp is a smoother, more controlled compression than a compressor pedal. Because I say with compressor pedals, you can still have a gnarl, this fizz. You can still have a fizz there. It'll definitely quieten things down, but it'll still fizz things out. The DS2 being a good example of that. If you use a compressor pedal to control the DS2 will still be dead spiky in its frequencies. And again, for me, that's not something I like. It's why I don't use my compressor pedal really at all. I would never get rid of it, but because I it's one of those, when you don't have it, you'll need it kind of pedals. You know what I mean? It's much in the same way as some of the pedals I've got. It's like I won't get rid of them because I know if I did, one day I'll need them. When you just kind of get that feeling about something. It's like one day you're going to need that for something. It might just be for one song in 5 years' time, but you know what I mean. I always think about that when I'm kind of like, if I do like a big cull of gear that I've got, I always think about, will I ever need this? Am I ever going to need this? If is there any situation you can think of that might become useful? And the compressor pedal is definitely one of those, and I really like the head compressor pedal that I've got. So like I said, I don't really know the differences, and I don't know the ins and outs or the technical side of why that works for me better or this and the other. I just prefer it sonically, and the way it sounds is better. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not that clever. I'm never going to be or am that clever to understand any of that stuff. I just know what works for me, and I know what I like the sound of. So, compression, it just, like you say, if your waveform's doing this, compression just comes in and goes, right, now you're not going out of that. So you've cut off the super highs and the super lows, and everything's more, mid-focused and cleaner and nicer. But for some reason, with a distortion pedal or an overdrive channel on an amp, I find that it's a lot more smoother. It's a more friendly sound to pedals. It's a better platform for pedals. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's like I said, I'm certainly not the person for explaining it. I'm sure there's people out there who can explain that in a million times better way than I ever could. But again, for me, like I say, the compression that comes from them is just so much nicer. You know, it's like I say, it's smoother. That's the thing I've always wanted to go for in my guitar tone, especially the lead tone, especially distortion. And this really bugs me sometimes when I hear this in an amplifier's frequencies. Is there's a buzz. It's a frequency that sits above the sound. So here's the sound, and here's the buzz, and it goes with it. And not every amp, but a lot of amps have that. The Boss Katana doesn't. The Marshall MG has a little bit, but not a great deal. To be honest with you, it's barely there on the Marshall MG. You can barely hear it. Well, I can barely hear it, should I say. Like, there's a slight little bit of a buzz on OD2, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, again, it doesn't affect me. The CR120 has it a lot if you start using the EQ. It's like, the CR120 to me is bizarre because it's like, here's the sound, here's the bass sound of the amplifier. So mid, treble, bass, all on 0. This is the sound of the CR120. If you then turn up the mid, it's like this happens. It's like another sound on top of that sound opens up and it starts adding to it. Whereas if it's on 0, it's not there. But the moment you start turning that mid-range dial up, all of a sudden this adds on top of this original sound. So it's technically like 2 sounds. Instead of a mid adding to one sound and just being one thing, it's like all of a sudden it becomes 2 things. And the same goes for the treble. So it's like, if that's, you know, if that's the core sound of the amplifier, you then add mids in to it, and then you add treble into it, all of a sudden you've got these 3 individual sounds. And if you add bass into it, you've got 4 individual things. And that is my pet peeve with the CR120's dirty channel, because I don't use the clean channel at all. I don't like the clean channel on the CR120, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. It's just to me it's very sterile, and there's not much character to it. The dirty channel is heaven, but it just has this weird way of interacting with itself that my other amps don't do. Like my Marshall MG doesn't do it, and the Boss Katana doesn't do it. But the CR does, which is why I always run it on 0, because that core bass tone of everything on 0 is my happy place on it. The moment I start adding in a bit more mids to it, it feels wrong to me, and I don't like it. And there's a buzz to it, but there's like this buzzy frequency that really gets on my nerves, and I'm just like, I don't like that, so that's why I turn it off. But yeah, and I can hear that sometimes in certain amps. Like I can hear, it's like I say, it's a frequency above the actual sound of the amplifier. It's not technically the sound of the amp, but there is a frequency in there that's actually, to me, interfering. It's kind of over the top of this, over the actual sound. It drives me potty, oh, the Boss Katana 50 has it. The Boss Katana 50 has it. The 100 doesn't, but the 50 has this. Where there's this underlying or overhanging, whichever page you want to see it. This fizz, this buzz. And it just drives me a bit balmy. I don't really like it, and I can hear it. And it's a real wasp in the ear kind of sound. You know what I mean? Where it's just kind of, well, maybe not wasp in the ear, because that's kind of, you know, that would dictate that it was kind of annoying, like, you know, horrible and harsh. And it's not harsh. It's just kind of like I say, it's a sound above the sound. It's the only way I can really explain it. It's like I can hear the sound of the amp, but then I can hear this other sound on top, and they're kind of just clashing, and I don't like it. Like I say, the Boss Guitar 100 doesn't have it. The MG has it a smidge, but not really. The CR120 has it. The Boss Guitar 50 has it. My Carlsbro has it. My second ever amp has it when you turn the reverb on. But other than that, it doesn't have it. But that's a weird sounding amplifier. I'm going to do a video on that one day soon, actually, because it's a very strange amp. The Vox Escort doesn't have it either, but again, I think that's because it's a little bit different. But yeah, I don't know, because it's not really high gain, you know, or anything like that. You know. Anyway, I've gone well off the tracks here, but yeah, I don't know. Sorry, everyone. I'll get back to the question. You explain compression that comes from distortion pedals. Like I said, all I can say is like the compression that comes from a distortion pedal or an OD channel on an amp, to me, is a lot more sonically pleasing than a compressor pedal, or because there is no compression on a clean channel. That's why they're a bit unruly, and I don't think like I say, I haven't used a clean channel on an amp other than for demo purposes. I haven't used a clean channel on an amp since 2005, so 15 years. 15 years, yeah. Yeah. Because as soon as I got my Marshall MG in 2004, and as soon as in 2005 I started experimenting with the OD channel, OD1, and you're running my pedals into OD1. And then I found that worked for me in 2005. And since then I've never used... And my immediate thing when I plug into amplifiers is I go to a distortion channel. I remember doing a gig once where the backline was supplied and there was a Marshall JCM 2000 combo. And I immediately went to OD1. I didn't even think about using the clean channel once. I just immediately went to OD1 and I found my sound. And I've always been able to find my sound on OD overdrive channels more. There are a few amps where I found it on the clean channel, and that's really, really cool. But most of the time it is through overdrive. I don't use clean channels really, because you could argue the acoustic channel on the Katana is a clean channel, because that's how I run pedals. But Marshall MG and the CR120, I just use the dirty channel, and other amps I've used for pedals in the past, I always use the dirty channel. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there, Dave. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who could explain the differences between a compressor pedal and the compression that comes from distortion. I'm just not that clever, so I do apologise. So yeah, anyway, I hope it's answered your question a bit. I know there was a lot of a tangent in there, but hey, I do apologise. So yeah, I'm going to move on to final question there already. Question 4 is, and this comes up in every Q&A, not Q&A, sorry, live stream at this point in time. Question 4 is, are you a fan of John Mayer's work? I'm a fan of the John Mayer Trio and Continuum John Mayer. All his other stuff hasn't done anything for me. His early stuff, like Room for Squares, and then some of his later stuff like Battle Studies and stuff like that, did nothing for me. Continuum, I think, is John's best album, because I feel that Continuum is John being John, and not being necessarily swayed by one thing or another. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm totally wrong. I know I'm totally wrong in that assumption, but Continuum feels so natural, if that makes any sense. Good gravy. I do apologise, everybody. Yeah, Continuum just feels so natural to me. Like, it was just like, you know, it's such a wicked album. But like I say, you know, some stunning songs on Continuum, and but yeah, I mean, I love John's guitar playing. I love his sound. I love Continuum, but none of his other music has really done anything for me. I say Continuum is the only album I own of his now. I did own others, but I don't have them anymore. I got rid of them because I just never listened to them. But yeah, Continuum is the only one I listen to. I'm only interested in that album, you know. I have given the others a chance, definitely. I mean, I bought them, but I didn't like them. You know what I mean? I tried, but it didn't work. So, you know, be that what it may. But yeah, people ask me all the time on live streams, can you play John Mayer stuff? And it's like, I always refuse to play John Mayer stuff. And the simple reason is because everybody plays John Mayer stuff. You know what I mean? I don't really want to do that. You know, it's like, John's... When I first heard John in 2007? 2006? 2007. Whenever Continuum came out. When I first heard him back then, it's like, you know, I did get a little bit obsessed with him, you know, learning slow dancing in the Burn Room and Belief and stuff like that. But the more I learned it and the more I played it, the more I kind of like got not bored of it, but kind of more it wasn't for me. You know what I mean? That style of playing wasn't for me. It's too low gain. No, I'm joking, but it is. I know. It was just a bit too. I don't know. There wasn't a reckless element to it. You know what I mean? It's all so neat and tidy and clean, and eventually I didn't like that so much. Well, not eventually. I've never really liked neat and tidy and clean. I like that rough and ready playing sometimes, and John's so good. He's so clean at what he does. It kind of like, you know, it doesn't connect sometimes with me. If that makes sense, I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe that only makes sense to me. But again, that, you know, it is, I can only talk about from my perspective, really. John he's a stunning guitarist. He's a stunning songwriter. He's a wicked singer. You know what I mean? He's all those things. But like I say, I'm only interested in Continuum era John, and I'm not really. I mean, I don't. In all fairness, I don't remember the last time I even listened to him play. It was a long time ago. Because I just don't really listen to it anymore. I mean, I just don't listen to him anymore. You know, it's not that the fact I kind of grew bored or tired of it. It's just that it fell off my radar. Much in the same way quite a few guitarists have fallen off my radar every now and again. You know what I mean? It happens, you know. And the thing is, when things like that happen to me, say like Stevie Ray Vaughan fell off my radar a long time ago. And the same thing with John Mayer and Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and people like that. They just all fall off, and then the ones that remain. You know what I mean? Jimi Hendrix, John Frusciante, Peter Green, Rory Gallagher, people like that. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel that, like, you know. I feel they fall off my radar for a reason. You know what I mean? Whatever that reason may be, sometimes I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not supposed to know what it is, you know. But whatever's guiding me will take certain things that, like, you know, it's like, you know, I don't want to call it a distraction, but other kind of influences away from me. You know what I mean? Just because either A, they're not helpful, or B, you know, there's nothing I can take from it. You know, I can't feel it. You know, which is key to me when I listen to music. I've got to feel it. If I can't feel the song or the music that's going on, I am not interested. I don't care how good people say it is. If I can't feel it, I don't care, because I need to connect with it. And if I can't connect with it, then I don't really want to know. And it's kind of brutal, that way of thinking about it, but that is the way it is. A good example is John Frusciante's new acid house record that he released. What was it? Look Down Seers. You know, that doesn't work for me at all. I'm sure people love it, and that's cool for them. You know, if you love it, that's wicked. I don't need to like it for you to like it, though. I personally didn't. I listened to it all. I listened to it front to back twice. It's only 4 tracks. I listened to it front to back twice, and I noticed on my first listening, I was zoning out because it did nothing to me. It was literally doing. And then on my second time through, I noticed it was background noise and I wasn't even paying attention to it. Whereas other music that I listen to that really I feel holds my attention totally. You know what I mean? Like, it just holds me there. Whereas that music didn't. You know, it's just, there's nothing there. Whereas music really affects me on a level, really holds me. You know, and that can change. I mean, some songs that. No, that doesn't change. No, sorry, that was a silly statement. It doesn't change at all. I was going to use "Slow Dancing in a Burning Room" as an example of a song that doesn't hold me anymore, but that's a total nonsense statement, because I listened to John doing a live version of "Slow Dancing in a Burning Room" last year at some point. I don't remember when. And he was doing this live version of "Slow Dancing in a Burning Room," and it just caught me, and I just had my total attention for the whole song, because it's a wicked song. You know what I mean? I don't have any interest in playing it, or playing any John Mayer music. I've got no interest in playing any of his songs on guitar anymore, because I just don't feel that's what I want to play at this point in time. If you know what I mean? It's like, I've got to follow my own kind of path, so to say. And it feels like it'll probably come back around, maybe one day. But at this point in time, I don't feel like I want to play it at all. I've got no desire to play it, and I can't even get the motivation to even bother to play it. You know, and it is, I suppose, you know, you can say that's a pretty narrow-minded, stupid way of looking at it. But yeah, but the fact of the matter is, it's like, I'm going by what I feel, you know, not necessarily kind of like, you know, what, you know, you should play this and you should play that. It's like, well, what if I don't want to? You know, what if I can't? What if I just literally physically don't, like, what if I learn it and then don't enjoy it? You know, because I learnt a Bon Jovi track the other day. What's it called? I'm terrible with song titles. I learnt a Bon Jovi track the other day. Raise Your Hands. And I've wanted to learn Raise Your Hands for years. Mainly because I first heard it in the film Spaceballs. And I was like, what is that riff? That's amazing. And when I found out it was Bon Jovi, Raise Your Hands, I was like, I've got to learn that. And then finally the other day I got around to learning it. And I've already stopped playing it, because sometimes I find I can still listen to the song, I still love the song, but sometimes I find learning songs is, I'll learn it and it takes a little bit of the interest away from me. It's why certain songs I don't want to learn them, or certain solos I don't want to learn, because sometimes it doesn't take the magic away of their performance of it. Like, you know, I still love the Bon Jovi version of that song, and I can still listen to that and it holds me. But sometimes I learn things and it kind of like, it takes on a different, I don't know if this is making any sense. I think I'm just waffling on now. But that goes for John Mayer's stuff. Is like, you know, I learned Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. I can still play it. I choose not to, because I don't feel that's what I want to be. I know Belief, I know Gravity and stuff like that, but there's songs that I don't, and Waiting on the World Chase, but there's songs I don't really want to play. You know, I don't feel the want or desire to even start playing them. You know, and I think you have to be true to yourself in that when that kind of thing comes up. If somebody says, "Oh, can you play this?" and you don't want to play it, I think you kind of have to be honest and go, "Well, no, not really. I don't really want to play that." You know what I mean? Because it comes up on live streams every night. Can you play John Mayer stuff? And I just flat out refuse to play it. It's not because I hate John Mayer. I love John Mayer. It's just simply the fact I just don't want to play it. Like I say, there's so many John Mayers out there. There's so many John Mayer clones out there. Because, you know, technically John Mayer's a Steve Ray Vaughan clone, really, in a way. You know, in a certain way. I mean, a more cleaner Steve Ray Vaughan way, because Stevie obviously was a bit more ruckus and ruthless with his playing and stuff. But he's still got that kind of John Mayer. John Mayer still got the Stevie thing, and whatever it is. But that's interesting. Why did that pop up? Anyway, but yeah. So be that for what it may, I don't know. But I love his music. But I say I only care about Continuum. I have listened to all his new stuff, like, you know, there's Battle Studies. I forget the other albums that he's got, as you know. And I just didn't get on with it. Again, I can't feel it, and if I can't feel it, I'm not interested. You know, if it's not there for me, then I'm not going to fake it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to fake. I think it's really disingenuous to say you like something when you don't. You know what I mean? It's really wrong to do that. You know, if something's good, you say it's good. You know, if something's really affects you, you say it really affects you. If you don't like something, you need to say you don't like it. Yeah, well, it's just wrong to. It's really wrong to say something's good when you think it's rubbish. You know what I mean? It's just you're lying, and it's not cool. So if you don't like something, say you don't like it. I mean, I don't have any problem with saying I don't like John Frusciante's new music. I don't. You know, it doesn't make me less of a fan. Like some people have pointed out, if you don't like John Frusciante's dance music, you're not a real fan. It's like, well, how do you figure that one, sports fan? You know, I don't like that kind of way of thinking. Like, you know, there's some songs that Jimi Hendrix did that I wasn't particularly fond of. There's some songs that Rory does that I'm not particularly fond of. You know, these guys are my heroes. There's some things that Peter Green did that I'm not fond of. These guys are my heroes, but it doesn't make me less of a fan just because I don't like everything they do. You know, it's, you know, you have to be honest with yourself and what you like more so than anything like that. And if you don't want to do something, don't do it. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. It's like, you know, oh, can you play slow dancing in a burning room? Well, I don't really want to. Go on, do it. No, I don't want to. You know, if you don't, you have to. You know, you don't want to be. You don't want to have to give in to those kind of things. You don't want to do it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not important. You know. You know. Because it can sometimes it can hinder you. It can be bad, you know. There's a million people out there on YouTube and Instagram playing slow dancing in a burning room. You don't have to be one of them if you don't want to be. You know what I mean? And that's the thing with John Mayer is like one thing that I saw is like everyone wants to sound like John Mayer and start to play like him and there's an obsession for him. You know, it's much in the same way as my obsession for John Frusciante. Yeah, definitely. But like I just don't feel his music that same way, which is cool. If you do, that's wicked. You know, go for it. You know, totally go for it. But for me, it doesn't work. You know, again, and you have to think about yourself every now and again. You know, you've got to think about what you want and what works for you and what can you get out of something. If you're not getting something, like, you know, if you're listening to music and you're not getting anything out of it at all, then it's kind of pointless. You know, you've got to get something out of it. When I listen to a piece of music, I've got to get something out of it. I've got to connect to it on a level. I've got to connect with it on a level. And if I don't connect to it, I am not interested. I don't care. You know, you know, people can say this is the best song in the world. If it doesn't connect with me, I'm not interested. You know, and I think that's the way you should be. Because again, you're being honest, you know, with yourself. And you've been honest with other people. If somebody says, oh, do you like this? And you go, no. You know, that should be enough, you know. Because again, music has to connect. It has to go inside you. It has to affect you and hold you. And my phone is like the hotline today. I do apologise. But yeah, so, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna have to stop waffling on there because I'm going to run out of time otherwise. And I have run out of time. That's what the phone call's about. So anyway, that's why it's only 4 questions there, everybody. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, everybody. I hope that's made sense. I hope the questions have been okay. I hope I've answered your questions okay. I hope there's been something there you can take away. And like I say, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. I do apologise about the abrupt ending. I've totally lost track of time. So I do apologise about that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you very soon. I'll see you on Friday for another vid. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and yeah, I'll see you again very soon. Be happy, be smiley, help each other. You know, there's a long time to go until this is over yet. So make the best of it as what you can, and just, you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. So yeah, have a great one, everybody. I'll see you again. Goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching.